Yo, what is going on, guys? It is Taylor the Fiend back again. And on today's episode, we have a story here today of a wife who demanded separation from her husband to quote unquote look for something better, but instead she got humbled. So we will see how this one plays out. This is something that I see a lot, guys. When women break up with you, they're essentially telling you this. They're essentially telling you, hey, I've either found something that I think is better than you, or I'm going to look for something better than you. Now, not every woman is going to say this, but this is what it translates to. She thinks that she can do better. So that realistically, this is actually quite common. Let's jump into this story here. It is. I don't even know where to post this exactly, but I just need to get it off my chest. I, a 34-year-old, so this is based off of a Reddit story, I believe. I, a 34-year-old male, have officially finalized a divorce that I never saw coming a few months ago, and the way it all played out still messes with my head. I was married for 8 years to my now ex-wife, 32, no kids, thankfully. We'd been together since our mid-20s. Things were never explosive, but we got along well. We had routines, we communicated decently, and I genuinely thought that we were one of those couples that would just grow old together even if there wasn't fireworks every day. I see a lot of stories like this, guys, and here's the problem. A lot of men are perfectly content being, you know, if the relationship is boring, if things are smooth sailing, there doesn't have to be something exciting happening every day, okay? We as men, we don't particularly give a damn. On the other hand, if you are boring to a lot of modern day women, they will simply leave your ass to try and find something that's more exciting or more thrilling or more entertaining for them, right? Because a boring guy is a stable guy and a stable guy is a boring guy. And a lot of these dudes straight up just get left by women because the women are looking for something that is new and exciting. We as dudes, we don't really care if the woman is, we don't, you know, we're not out here looking for women that are going to thrill us, okay, and be super exciting and all of this stuff. I see a lot of women try and advertise themselves to men like this, you know, like, oh, they have like, you know, I've got such a bubbly personality. And the problem is a lot of guys really don't particularly give a damn, right? Oftentimes bubbly means extroverted. Extroverted means talking to a whole bunch of dudes. Let's continue down here. He said she worked as a florist and she loved it. She always talked about eventually opening up her own shop. I work in logistics, pretty steady stuff. Our life was fairly normal. Out of nowhere, one evening after dinner, she says that she, quote unquote, wants to talk. And it wasn't the let's plan a trip kind of talk. She looked nervous, almost rehearsed. She said she wanted to separate. Her exact words were, I feel like I've never really had the chance to figure out who I am. I need space. I want to try something better, explore my identity. Okay. Guys, please understand, when women say crap like this, you can essentially take out this part here, right, to figure out who I am. See that bit right there where it says, figure out who I am? You just want to replace that with have intimacy with other men, okay? I feel like I've never really had the chance to have intimacy with other men, and she wants to try that. That's all that this translates to. Women will oftentimes use this like very kind of, you know, polite language. They won't actually say what this is. They'll just talk around it. But the direct translation is she just wants to go out there and find a better dude. She wants to jump into bed with other men, and that's it. Right? They always word it as something nicer than it actually is, but the translation is she just wants another dude. He says, I was completely blindsided. I asked her if she was unhappy with me or if there was someone else. She insisted that there wasn't. There probably was, by the way. There probably was another guy. That it wasn't about anyone in particular. She just needed time to, quote unquote, find herself. There's that phrase, guys, find herself. Yep, she's going to find herself in some dude's bedroom is what's going to happen. I didn't know what to say. I just remember feeling cold, but I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry or beg. I just said, okay, if that's what you want, I won't stop you. This is actually the correct way to handle this, by the way, because the thing is, if the woman wants to leave, she's just going to find a way to leave anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no point getting angry or doing all of the nonsense. If like the woman's, it's not a good idea to try and keep her there if she doesn't actually want to be there. He says, I packed a few things and moved in with my older brother while I figured out my next steps. I didn't cut her off, but I also didn't chase her. I gave her the space she asked for and focused on keeping my own head above water. Therapy helped. Then about 2 weeks later, my buddy Mark, who owns a coffee shop near her florist, sends a message, right? And so, of course, what's she doing during this time? Right? What do you guys think is happening during this time? I'll tell you what's happening. The moment this guy said, okay, not a problem, that exact same evening, she would have been at this other dude's house. There is a guy that she had already lined up. There probably was some previous to that too in the years that they've been married, right? But there was this one guy she was thinking about, had probably been having fun with before then anyway, at least a little bit. And so she probably would have called that guy that night and left that exact same night to go and spend time with him. I guarantee, people say, like, they don't believe me when I say this, guys, but I guarantee you, this exact night, like the exact night that he agreed to the separation and said, okay, no problem, I guarantee you she was over there. Or at the very least, within the week, easy. People say like, oh no, my wife of 8 years wouldn't do that. Yes, she would. She absolutely would. Dude, I think I saw your wife with that flower truck guy, his friend said. Looked pretty cozy. Turns out she'd been hanging out with some younger guy named Jamie who runs a mobile flower truck business. So this is essentially a co-worker. This is the delivery guy for her work, probably. Mid-20s, artsy type, kind of the opposite to me in a lot of ways. Apparently they met at the flower market months ago. To be fair, we were technically separated at that point, but it felt like crap knowing she had this whole quote-unquote freedom speech while probably already emotionally moved on. Yeah, she already physically moved on, first of all. But this is why she did it. A lot of guys, right, something like this will happen to them, but they don't understand that it was all just calculated from the beginning, all of it. She left because she knew she had this dude lined up. She probably didn't want to feel guilty about cheating, and so she ended the marriage so she didn't feel like she was cheating, right? Because in her head, the way she probably rationalizes it is, hey, I've been hooking up with this guy for the last little bit, maybe a week or two. I'm going to ditch my husband now. That way, they don't really overlap. Technically, I wasn't really having intimacy with this guy while I was married, so it's totally fine. And they can just brush it under the rug, mentally speaking, and feel totally fine about it. So this guy's saying, you know, to be fair, we were technically separated, but it just goes to show she had this dude lined up to begin with. He says, I never brought it up to her, never messaged, never asked about him. Instead, I focused on myself. Gym, work, reconnecting with friends I drifted from, started journaling. I didn't do it to be petty or to get revenge. I just needed to remember who I was outside of the relationship. And honestly, after a few weeks, I started feeling good, like I was waking up from something. This is usually, by the way, how you can tell if a marriage was actually bad, because dudes will get out of these marriages, they'll get out of these relationships, and they will feel better than when they were actually in the relationships. It usually tells me that the woman was very, very draining to the guy and didn't actually make his life stress-free. There are so many wives, you know, dudes will be married for like 10 years, get out of the marriage, and then not realize how much stress the wife was actually bringing to their life. So this guy's moving on. He's doing all the correct moves, right? He's going to the gym, he's working, he's, you know, reconnecting with friends, all of that kind of stuff. I love to see it when in these stories, you know, the dudes are like, okay, I did the gym, I did the work, I spent time with friends and family. Great stuff. I don't really care much for journaling, okay? I think therapy is pretty damn stupid, but if it helps him, sure, whatever. But gym, work, friends, fantastic stuff. So, about 6 weeks after he moved out, he got a text from her. Hey, can we talk soon? I agreed to meet her for coffee. She looked tired and worn down. Not like she'd just had some soul-searching epiphany, more like she was embarrassed. Yeah, what happened, right? What happened was she's not, you know, looking like she went on a soul-searching journey, because number one, that's not what she did. But number two, she's very tired and she's very worn down, and she's sad because she couldn't get the relationship that she wanted out of this guy. You see, women will move on all of the damn time. They'll be like, you know, oh, I found this new guy, my life's going to get better. So they will ditch their man only to fail to understand that the subsequent man does not want to have a relationship with them. It's very funny when the wife comes crawling back, guys. This happens a lot. You talk to guys, I'm telling you, go out there and talk to divorced guys or guys who have been through relationships like this. And a lot of the times the women actually end up coming crawling back because they realize that they screwed up. She told me she thought separating would help her, quote unquote, grow, but instead it made her feel lost, that she tried to, quote unquote, she tried something better, but it wasn't what she thought it would be. She didn't mention the guy by name, but I got the point. He probably dumped her or turned out to be flaky. She said that she wanted things to work out. So the classic, wife ditches you for another man, fails to lock down the man, and then comes begging and crawling back for the marriage again. He says, but I wasn't in the same place anymore. I listened, then I told her as gently as I could that I wasn't interested in rebuilding what we had. I said something like, you've made a decision, I respected it. I'm not angry, but I'm also not the same person who was waiting around. She looked genuinely shocked. Like she really thought it'd just be sitting there. I'd just be sitting there, ready to patch things up the moment she came back. She teared up and said, so that's it? And I just said, yeah, it is. That is so funny. It is so damn funny, because here's the thing. The woman, I'll tell you why the woman was shocked. The woman was shocked because she thought she'd be able to return at any given point in time. She thought to herself, okay, I've got this husband, you know, he loves me, he'll do anything I ask. Surely I can trample all over him, treat him like dirt, ditch him for another guy, and if it doesn't work out, surely he will take me back, because that's the type of man that he is. But a lot of husbands these days are actually saying, you know what? No, I'm not going to take you back. I'm not going to be walked all over. This applies to boyfriends too. I see this a lot as well. You know, and the men sit there and they say, I'm not actually going to take you back. And then the women, it's like the shocked Pikachu face meme, man, where they're like, what do you mean? You know, what do you mean you won't take me back? Even though these men are under zero obligation to take these women back whatsoever, and nor should they, by the way. He said, we finalized the divorce not long after that. No big fights, no lawyers battling it out, just signatures and logistics. So this guy got pretty lucky, all things considered. Since then, she's been distant. Great. That's what you want to hear. Mutual friends say she's been asking about me. One told me she cried after seeing I posted a picture at a concert with a woman. Just a friend, but still, he says. Apparently, the other guy moved on and started dating someone else pretty quickly. I don't feel good about any of it. I didn't, quote unquote, win or get satisfaction. I just know that sometimes people don't realize what they had until it's gone, and by then it's too late. I think this dude played this absolutely correctly. He humbled the hell out of the woman. He didn't take her back. And he said, okay, if this is something you want to do, no problem. A lot of dudes in this situation, you know what they would do? They would sit there and they would try and keep the woman around. They would treat this like a problem that was to be fixed, even though it isn't. And what would happen is the woman would, she would either stay and cheat on him, or she would leave, and then the dude would try and make it work, and she'd come back after the other guy, you know, had his fun and then bounced. Either way, not worth keeping the wife around. Guys, we are going to be leaving today's story there. Have you ever had something similar happen to you? Maybe you've had an ex-girlfriend or an ex-wife who, you know, comes crawling back after she realized the grass wasn't greener. Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you guys take care of yourselves, and I'll be seeing you all in the next episode. Peace.